As we dive down into the physical surface of a silicon microchip, we enter the modern multi-tenant server environment. Cloud computing relies on strict architectural boundaries at this level, specifically hardware virtualization and the separation between user and kernel space to keep data isolated when multiple clients share the exact same hardware. The standard mental model of defense relies on firewalls and code integrity checks. Together, these mechanisms are designed to form an impenetrable software shell around virtual machines, ensuring that one client cannot access or interfere with the data of another. Yet modern attackers are bypassing these boundaries entirely. They are accessing strictly isolated data without executing a single line of unauthorized code, and without triggering any standard system integrity alarms. Static defenses are insufficient here, because attackers are no longer trying to break the rules of the system. Instead, they are exploiting the physical architecture and the trusted logic pathways of the system itself. This vulnerability stems from two distinct, non-traditional threat vectors. The first is micro-architectural side channels. These exploits take advantage of physical hardware design flaws to read isolated data that should be inaccessible. The second vector is the dynamic data attack. Instead of exploiting physical hardware, this attack manipulates existing operating system pathways to actively modify isolated data in memory. Where a side-channel attack bypasses physical hardware boundaries to steal information, a dynamic data attack bypasses software logic checks to corrupt system state. To secure modern computing systems, engineers must understand both vectors and deploy two entirely different hardware-software co-design frameworks to neutralize them. The hardware reading threat begins with an optimization technique known as speculative execution. To maximize throughput, a CPU will guess the outcome of conditional branches and execute instructions ahead of time, discarding the work if the guess turns out to be wrong. This diagram illustrates what happens when an attacker introduces a speculation primitive. By manipulating the processor's prediction logic, an attacker intentionally forces the CPU down an incorrect, non-architectural path. This creates a race condition. Before the CPU realizes it has taken the wrong path, a disclosure gadget within speculative execution window accesses strictly isolated memory and pulls that secret data into a shared cache area. Eventually, the CPU recognizes the misprediction and discards the incorrect instructions, but the microarchitectural state of the shared level 1 data cache has already been altered. The instructions are gone, but the extracted data is left behind. The engineering pursuit of ultimate processing speed inadvertently hardwired physical windows for cross-domain data theft into the architecture of modern microchips. Once that secret data sits in the shared cache, the attacker uses observation channels, like the flush plus reload technique. By measuring the exact time it takes to access specific memory locations, they infer the contents of the cache, extracting the left-behind data bit by bit. Looking at the schematic of the L1 terminal fault, or L1TF, we see the mechanical reality of this attack. Even when the hypervisor performs a flush of the level 1 data cache, an attacker controlling a virtual CPU can manipulate the sequence to leave target data vulnerable right in that cache. This threat expands significantly with half-specter gadgets. Here, an attacker tricks the hypervisor into speculatively fetching arbitrary mapped data. Within the tiny window indicated by the red arrows, the sibling hyperthread leaks the secret data out of the shared cache before the hypervisor can issue the next flush. By weaponizing temporary CPU guesses, cache observation channels compromise everything from basic cryptographic keys to highly sensitive large language model prompt tokens sitting in shared memory environments. Stopping hardware-level side-channel leaks requires a holistic framework. Microsoft categorizes these mitigations into three broad tactical pillars: preventing speculation, removing sensitive content, and removing observation channels. To prevent speculation, engineers insert explicit barrier instructions, like LFENCE, to force the CPU to serialize execution and halt risky branch predictions. Systems also dedicate specific isolated CPU cores to the hypervisor root partition to avoid shared prediction states entirely. To remove sensitive content, operating systems employ kernel virtual address shadowing. This splits user and kernel page tables, ensuring that sensitive kernel memory is never even mapped into the virtual address space while user code is executing. Finally, to remove observation channels, virtualization software mitigates shared cache loading by mapping guessed memory as non-cacheable in the root page tables and actively disabling memory deduplication protocols that attackers rely on. Mitigating hardware vulnerabilities is not a matter of issuing a simple software patch. It is a strict reorganization of how memory is mapped, shared, and processed at the instruction level. Moving up from the physical microarchitecture, we exit the hardware cache and enter the software logic space, the operating system kernel. Here, the threat vector shifts from reading data to writing it. Traditional kernel rootkits take control of a system by injecting malicious code. Today, robust code integrity locks like SecVisor reliably detect and block these unauthorized execution attempts, but dynamic data kernel rootkits avoid code injection entirely. They execute their attacks without introducing a single line of unapproved code into the kernel space. Instead, they manipulate dynamically allocated variant kernel structures, such as the active process list. By leveraging direct memory access devices, the rootkit hijacks already approved kernel code to alter these critical data structures. Because the attacker is using the system's own trusted pathways to write malicious data, static code integrity checks remain completely silent. The logic assumes the action is safe because the code executing it is authorized. To stop dynamic data tampering, the defense layer must be positioned with a higher privilege level than the rootkit. It must move below the operating system, down to the virtual machine monitor, or VMM. This diagram shows the VMM sitting directly beneath the OS. From this vantage point, the VMM establishes memory guards, transparent boundaries that constantly monitor any write operations directed at sensitive dynamic kernel structures. When a write request arrives, the VMM enforces a protocol known as access invariance. It intercepts the request and extracts the program counter, the EIP register, to determine exactly which specific instruction generated the write, comparing it against a verified whitelist of authorized functions. If an unapproved kernel function is being manipulated to modify the protected data, the EIP mismatch exposes the unauthorized intent. The VMM preemptively blocks the transaction before the state can be altered. Securing the OS requires external validation. It is no longer enough to restrict what is being written. The system must rigorously verify who is authorized to write it. True isolation requires both frameworks. On the hardware side, explicit barriers block speculative execution from reading isolated memory. On the software side, VMM access invariants block manipulated OS components from writing to sensitive data structures. Both demand active, continuous orchestration to monitor the system itself. Security engineering is moving away from simply validating the integrity of code. The focus has shifted strictly to controlling execution states and verifying memory access intent at the instruction level. Only through comprehensive hardware-software co-design can engineers close the invisible gaps in modern computing architectures and secure the core.